Extraordinary Time. Um, I'm back from retreat last week. Come to think of it, I'm not sure I'd mentioned a whole lot that I was going on retreat last week, and there wouldn't be any updates. But hopefully, everyone was able to figure that out, and hopefully, people will come back now and watch. I'll talk a little bit about my retreat here in a few moments, but just wanted to kind of go through our weekly schedule because there are a couple things coming up tomorrow and Wednesday that are a little bit different. Tomorrow, Mass-wise, still have this evening, or tomorrow evening, we'll have confessions starting at 5:30, and then have Mass at 6:30, and then the Rosary following Mass. But tomorrow we are celebrating the Feast of the Presentation of the Lord, and it's 40 days after Christmas, believe it or not, and this is when Mary and Joseph would have taken the child Jesus to present him in the temple, and part of, I'll talk a little bit more about that, but this is when Simeon and Anna both come up and approach Mary and Joseph with the baby Jesus, and Simeon makes his prophecy about Mary, but also about the child, and says that he will be a light for the nations. And so we bless candles on the Feast of the Presentation. It's also called Candlemas. I'll talk more about that tomorrow, but since we have that blessing of candles, we bless the candles that we use in church, but also too, if people bring the candles that they want to use at home for devotions, those can be blessed also. So that's tomorrow evening at the 6:30 Mass. Begins with this ritual of blessing of candles. So if you're planning on coming, or if you'd like to have some candles blessed for use in your home, come tomorrow evening at 6:30. Hopefully the weather will be a little bit better, and we'll have that blessing of candles. Then on Wednesday, February 3rd, that's the memorial of Saint Blaise. And that's a traditional time to have throats blessed through his intercession. So Wednesday morning, during the Mass, we'll do the blessing of throats. And then we also then, like normal, will have adoration going on all throughout the day on Wednesday, from the end of Mass until 7 p.m. And since it's the first Wednesday of the month, we'll also have the Holy Hour from 6 to 7 p.m. So that's coming up on Wednesday. And then Thursday and Friday are normal with 8 a.m. Mass. So that's the schedule that's coming up this week. Like I said, tomorrow and Wednesday, there's a couple extra things. Something just popped up on my screen. Let me try that. And so that's what's coming up. So I mentioned last week I was on retreat. It was a very good retreat. I did something very close by. I just went to Fremont. The Pines Retreat Center there has a couple hermitages, as they're called. They're just little cabins, one-person cabins. So there's a little kitchenette with a small refrigerator and a hot plate, and so you prepare all your own meals. There's a full bath and a bed and a chair it's pretty simple but very comfortable. And then each day I would go over into the retreat center to celebrate Mass. And during my retreat, I was able to read through a couple. They're kind of small books, but they were good for retreat prayer. One was on Mary in the Bible and in our lives. I think it was the title of it, Mary in the Bible and in our lives. And then a book on what's called acedia, and it was called The Noonday Devil. Acedia is an ancient term, and it gets a lot of different descriptions. And even after reading the book, which I thought was fantastic, it's still hard to explain it exactly. Sometimes it's called like boredom, or I think it's almost like a spiritual boredom, but it's just kind of this. It's called the Noonday Devil because it it goes back all the way to the desert fathers in the 4th century, Antony of the Desert and some of the other desert fathers who went and lived as hermits. And so they would have their little cell, their little hut that they lived in, and the noonday, and like they said, in the Egyptian desert in the middle of the day, it just seems like the day's never going to end. And so there's kind of this sorrow or this depression in a way that almost settles in, that the hermits would have to fight against. This idea that they just wanted to kind of flee from their cell, which is where they were supposed to stay. And so, like I said, sometimes it's called just like spiritual sloth or dry. It's just this. It's also described too as just kind of this disgust with spiritual things. I don't think it's like a hatred of spiritual things, but it's just kind of like the spiritual life just isn't going anywhere, maybe, is the way acedia would be kind of explained. St. Thomas Aquinas has some great teachings on it also. So this book went through some of those. Again, it wasn't a very long book, and just talked about fighting against it and some of the ways that the fathers of the church and all throughout the centuries, people have discussed how to kind of cope with that spiritual dryness or that spiritual lethargy, or however you want to describe it, but just kind of that that you just kind of need that extra shot of whatever, of grace from God, to get going in the spiritual life. So if you wanted, I got it from Amazon and had it on my Kindle, and read it that way. But I think if you look at it for the Noontime Devil, acedia, Acedia, that's the spelling of it. It's a very ancient idea that it may be very applicable for our modern times too. So, and plus I'll always bring the Bible with me. Looked at the patriarchs a little bit during this. So Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, during this time of retreat. So said it was a very fruitful opportunity to spend that week in solitude and in prayer and reflection. But now it's back at it. I was up shoveling snow and spreading salt this morning, so it's right back to the kind of the normal activities. So hope everyone has a wonderful week. I hope everybody stays safe and healthy, especially if you have to travel anywhere with kind of our weather that's a little bit dicey at times. So we'll continue to look